Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to our November Behind the Science with the amazing Mary Esther Gilbert. I'm Pamela Zimmer. I'm a corporate director here with APL Go. Mary Esther Gilbert is one of our fantastic resources, and she is an invaluable asset to us here. She believes that a holistic lifestyle holds the key to living life in optimal health vibrancy. So please help me welcome Mary Esther.
Hi, everyone. How is everyone doing tonight? Good to be here.
Yes, always excited to have you. Okay, so we're going to dive right in. The drops that we're talking about this month are Power Apricot and Power Lemon. And I know that in the past you've gone through all of our 18 lozenges to some degree, one time or another. But these two, interestingly enough, the last time I think I had the privilege of interviewing you were these same two drops. So I was trying to go back and look at the questions to see where could we expand on what we didn't get to cover last time. So hopefully I have a little bit more knowledge. There's a little bit of repeat stuff because we always have the same question. And I'm going to start with this one. We always describe Power Apricot as being for women and Power Lemon as being for men. However, as we've been learning from you, it's not just one for women and one for men. So can you please expand on that?
Absolutely. You know, Pam, every time we do a repeat on the products, there's always something different that I get to teach about it because that's how complex the body is. We can come from so many different angles in how the body utilizes all of these nutrients. So don't worry about that. It's not going to really be a repeat. A couple of things will be, I wanted to expand on a few things like that. So let's just go ahead and get right into it.
Yeah,
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I don't think I've done that yet, have I?
no.
Okay, let's see here. I got to expand on that. Okay, here we go. That should be nice and big for everyone. Can you see that?
Yes, it's good.
All righty. Okay, so I'm going to start with ashwagandha. So this particular plant, to answer this question, it has over 26 different phytochemical compounds that are actually been tested, and the research has shown that it's uh, helpful with infertility and reproductive health, and we're going to talk about sex drive a lot tonight too, because we can't get away from it when you're dealing with hormones and fertility and reproductive health, and even for older women who are already into menopause and have ceased their menses, it still applies because you can actually reverse the aging process. Not that you want your menses back, but a lot of women are young and they are experiencing hot flashes. They're going through an early menopause, and that's not normal. So these are the kinds of things that we need to be aware of in these drops. So the phytonutrients that are in ashwagandha, they actually help reduce the production of the stress hormones. We've talked about that in the past, including that, main stress chemical, cortisol, which pops up every time you're stressed, especially over time, and if you don't sleep well, and if you're missing a lot of nutrients in the body. And this cortisol actually blocks the production of testosterone. Women have to have testosterone, otherwise we'd be emotional messes. Okay. And you don't want too much testosterone in men, otherwise they'd be monsters, right? So we have to have a balance of hormones, and there's a lot of ways to do that. So those phytonutrients above here are actually able to neutralize all of the damaging free radical molecules that like to steal electrons from healthy cells and destroy them. And one of them is reactive oxygen species, and that's really produced under a lot of stress, and it can actually interfere with fertility. So exercise is another determining factor of what kinds of hormones that your body are producing in both men and women. So we're going to be kind of balancing, what men need and women need. So the main hormones in females are the estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone in that order. And for the male hormones, it's the androgens, which is testosterone. There's others too, like dihydrotestosterone, and even estrogen is produced in the testes just to balance things out. So if someone is in male menopause, and that's just associated with the decline of gonad production of testosterone. So our gonads are basically, what produces hormones in both genders. So for female menopause, it's associated with a decline in balance of the estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. So one of the major problems with men and women is infertility. And I've had so many clients in the past, all we did was just, get the junk out, detoxify a little bit over time, and bombard the body with fresh nutrients, and good supplementation, and voila, they got pregnant. It's as simple as that. And it's been, over and over again, I saw that happen. So infertility related problems are due to like tubal or uterine or ovarian malfunctions and abnormalities. And in men, there's problems. Sorry about my phone here. I thought I turned it off. In men, there's problems with failure to produce sperm or lower quality of semen, and so other hormone disruptions as well. So then we've got the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis. Last time, a couple of calls ago, we talked about the gut-brain axis, that communication pathway between the gut and the brain. Well, this time we're going to be talking about the hypothalamus and the pituitary and the gonads and how they are supposed to be communicating properly. So that's vital in how the body produces the male and female hormones. So in both genders, the ashwagandha has been shown to act on the GABA receptors in the hypothalamus. And here's a picture of the GABA receptors on the cell membrane. So here's inside of the cell and here's outside of the cell where the extra fluids are flowing all the time and nutrients are arriving and being admitted, in through the cell membrane and into the inner universe of our cells. But we've got a lot of things sitting on that membrane, and the GABA receptors are one of them. So let's see. So the GABA receptors act on the hypothalamus. And so here's the little hypothalamus gland in the brain. And what it does is it produces the GnRH, which is the gonadotropin releasing hormone, GnRH. So then we've got the hormone that's influencing the anterior pituitary gland to produce luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. Those are still two hormones that we have in common with both men and women. It's not until these hormones arrive at the gonads that determines how the body is going to use them. So it's not like we're taking steroid drugs. These are actually precursors to all the hormones that the body will determine to make. And depending on your gender, it will go ahead and balance that out. So these are the sex hormones, the testosterone in the male and the estradiol progesterone in the female, and other hormones. Of course, this is very simplified. Our bodies produce 10,000 hormones, so we can't always list them all, and they apply to different systems. So, pretty much that's what we do. It depends on if you're a male or a female as to how you will utilize the drops and these wonderful nutrient compounds that are in. I'm going to highlight these for us again so you can see that's in the ashwagandha alone. So as we progress through the call, I'll be presenting more and more information about the other botanicals and what they do as far as maintaining our hormones.
Awesome. Wow. And that was just one ingredient, right? Like there's,
Yes.
I mean, several. And I know we've talked about this before too. It's, they're botanicals. So like you said, we're not taking a hormone. Men aren't taking testosterone. The women aren't taking the estrogen, but the botanicals are formulated to help us naturally produce and balance out what our body is needing. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Especially if you're living a healthy lifestyle. If you're sedentary and you're eating junk food, then you're going to have a problem. There's nothing that would straighten it out too much. It might do it temporarily, but it's not going to help you in the long run.
Right. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, moving on. So we hear that Power Lemon can help a man with performance in the bedroom. And so if a woman is struggling with low sex drive or lack of desire, would Power Lemon help her? Why or why not?
Yes. Okay, so this is going to be fun because I get to talk about a couple of other things. So, the ancients have always known about which plants will serve as an aphrodisiac, you know, and the scientific studies have been so great in confirming what the ancients already knew by trial and error and carefully documenting the causes and effects and actually documenting, you know, writing it down and passing on these materia medicas to from one healer to another. Or back then it wasn't called a medical system, but that basically that's all they used was botanicals and their healing properties. So you know, a lot of studies have already confirmed that the ashwagandha has sex enhancing properties, and so it can also help increase sperm count. So all of these phytonutrient compounds, all these nutrient factors have already been tested for many, many years. And it's still ongoing, you know, they're still discovering more and more properties, and these plants are being tested out in many different ways. They're testing out every single one of these individual phytonutrient compounds to see if maybe they can produce a drug out of it. You know, it's just amazing how much research is out there. But the power lemon and power apricot, they contain ginger root also, and this also has aphrodisiac effects, and it's been found to increase sperm viability, semen and volume ejections, and total serum testosterone. So, you know, you have it tested, right? And it's analyzed in the laboratory, and they're saying, wow, this guy's really really you know, got it going on. And it's found to increase and stimulate peripheral and blood circulation, which improves the engorgement in erectile dysfunctions. So a lot of times if people have erectile dysfunctions, it's a circulatory system problem and the inability for the blood vessels, which contain little muscular peristaltic actions to push blood throughout the whole system. There's, you know, there's something that's just not being pushed through enough to get to that area. Now, the Damiana leaf also has 35 different antioxidant phytonutrient compounds, and they've been found to actually restore the endocrine and glandular functions. And so, you know, thereby leveling out all the different hormones that we produce. And it's also known to be an as aphrodisiac and to increase libido and improve reproductive functions against infertility. So it's all about circulation and nourishing the cells and improving the genetic information in the DNA to make sure that the information is getting out there, being communicated to the tissues and the organs to make sure that they're functioning properly. It's also used in correcting the menstrual cycle for younger women who are experiencing menopause or experiencing, you know, symptoms. Younger women can get right back into their menstrual cycles, by the way. They can get out of the hot flashes and all of these symptoms. It's also be used against bladder and kidney infections, which many women get. You know, everything having to do with the reproductive system and being, you know, intimate with a partner and getting these kinds of infections. So it's also recognized as for anxiety neurosis, you know, and they've been tested for impotency and depression and nervous dyspepsia, like stomach disorders caused by stress, and also found to increase the number of males achieving ejaculation, you know, achieving that end and resuming a second one, and reduced post-ejaculatory interval without anxiety-like behaviors. So people are enjoying themselves better. You know, there's so much anxiety, it's so tied in to that axis. So then we've got the, I wanted to particularly point out the apigenins in ashwagandha because they have a positive influence on reproductive processes and dysfunctions, and they also promote cell proliferation, cell renewal, and viability. So it's going to actually help your cells replicate with all the genetic material in the DNA, you know, correct and make any corrections that are necessary, and to improve the release of the reproductive hormones and the ovarian blood supply. So, you know, it's all about getting the nourishment, getting the circulation in there, and to also protect the female reproductive system against like environmental pollutants, you know, all these harmful drugs and their side effects. They also have a big impact on women's health. So anytime you're on a prescription medication, look it up at PubMed, Medline, which is the database where all the drugs are listed, and talk to your doctor about this. Also, it interacts with estrogen receptors, those cell receptor sites, and helps modulate all the signaling pathways that are going to support normal reproduction processes. And in case of the older women who are already, you know, past menopause or going through it, that's going to improve your ability to enjoy intimacy. Also, increasing the ability of the cells to protect against the damage through facilitating production of antioxidant enzymes. So these phytonutrient compounds, they'll go through the system and they'll knock out all of these damaging, molecules that are produced from stress, that are from the environment, and absorbing synthetics and all the above. Alcohol, that's one of the major ones that does a lot of damage. So when you put these botanicals in your body, they will neutralize all of the damaging effects of that. So then, did I miss anything here? Yeah, decreases inflammation in the ovarian cell. So, we're talking about the whole reproductive system and the hormonal system that these botanicals will improve. So really quickly, I'm going to just go over the other ingredients because those are the ones that are either in the Power Lemon or in the Power Apricot, and people are always wondering, should I be taking the fig? Oh no, it's going to make my body produce too much testosterone. Well, as you can see in the first answer, depends on your gender. If you're a woman, you're not going to make too much testosterone. And even if you lift heavy weights at the gym, I used to do 6-day split routines in the 80s. And, I'm 5'3" and I have a small bone structure, and I put on a great amount of muscle, but it was shapely. I looked really great, and so weight training, don't be afraid of weight training. It puts calcium and minerals back into the bones. It gives you strength, endurance, and it adjusts your testosterone levels naturally. But if you're going to eat figs, I mean, you'd probably have to eat, maybe two giant bags of figs before you'd feel any effects of, feeling a little bit more aggressive, but then you'd have, other digestive issues if you did that. But we get the DNA of these plants. We get the protein manufacturing sites of these plants. We get the, total inner environment of these cells of these plants to help us make those corrections as we go along. Okay, so then let's see, it's got zinc in it, which also helps elevate testosterone levels naturally in men and increase the number of sperm and motility. And also the antioxidants that are in figs assist in all these different glandular functions. These polyphenols and carotenoids and flavonoids, flavones, anthocyanins, proanthocyanins, phytosterols, those are the precursors to the production of hormones that our gender determines what we're going to make. Okay, so studies show that fig is also great for the immune system, the digestive system, urinary system, blood building. I don't know, I think I've mentioned this before, that the fluid in plants are very close to blood. Molecularly speaking, they're very, very similar. And it also helps normalize blood pressure. So it acts on the kidneys in a positive way. It aids in glucose metabolism. So also improving memory, improving the respiratory system. And this is just a small snapshot. For those of you who have the book know that there's a lot more to be said about each one of these botanicals, but as it applies to what we're talking about tonight. So then we've got the ginseng root, also improving glucose metabolism, and all about how your body utilizes insulin, improving how the kidneys work, therefore improving, how your body regulates water and hypertension, immune functions. Just these things just knock out bacteria and viruses and parasites, and fungi circulating in the body. So they improve how the immune cells work, mental and physical performance. Ginseng is always been known for that. And also, if you're exercising or if you're a hard laborist, then you, when you push physical loads around, you require less oxygen actually. And also you can do more work. So ginseng has a lot of surprising benefits in the kind of phytonutrients that are in there, like the saponins. They're shown to stimulate the brain, to release chemicals that improve nerve, cell-to-cell signaling, all this neurotransmission, electrical information that's going through the body all the time, and therefore, improving alertness in the brain. And then it's got ginsenoside, RB1, that increases choline, which is a very, very good precursor for neurotransmission in the nervous system. So it's vital for cell membrane structure. The structure of our cells is very important too. So all this about, transmitting information for learning and memory. And so even though it's not in the Power Apricot, what woman wouldn't want all of these things without worrying about, turning into a man? There's no reason why women wouldn't benefit from this botanical.
Mhm.
So then we've got two more here. Lemon. Also, I mean, we've been eating lemon all our lives. Those of you who love lemons, I have to have lemon in my food every day. I just love it for so many reasons. But it prevents cholesterol levels from rising, and it helps prevent atherosclerosis or hardening of the arteries. And it has the flavonoids that help strengthen your blood vessels and help your blood vessels regulate your blood pressure, pulsate, through and circulate all the fluids in your system. And it aids in absorption of minerals. Polyphenols, those huge classifications of phytonutrient compounds that help improve how your body utilizes glucose or sugars. And of course, it's a very great thing against bacteria and viruses and fungi. It actually just keeps them from, just deactivates them so they can't proliferate in the body. And so again, there's no reason why we wouldn't benefit from this botanical either. And so again, we're getting the DNA and the protein manufacturing sites and the energy production sites that are inside of every living cell. So we're getting that extra boost of the capacity of our own bodies to do all of that. So now we've got the pomegranate. That's very good for, knocking out all kinds of microbials. It prevents clogged heart vessels, anti-atherogenic, and it helps protect against all these different toxic byproducts that can damage our DNA. Toxic byproducts are produced in the body all the time, and if you're under stress and your body is full of toxins, then it's going to be worse. Your DNA is going to be constantly under attack or constantly being damaged. And so it helps with the function of all these different critical proteins that our bodies manufacture to maintain the system. And it protects nerve cells against damage. So this one has elagitonin and ellagic acid, which are converted to urolithins to improve the beneficial aerobic bacteria in the colon. So it also helps the gut-brain axis. So there's no reason why women wouldn't benefit from, the cells that we get that are in the drops from this botanical.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Wow. So ladies, take your Power Lemon.
That's right.
I love, and I just want to touch on something you said. You referred to like lemons, right? Like everyone, well, a lot of us have lemon in our water, or we'll squeeze the juice on our salads or fish or something like that. But to get the benefits of the amount of lemon that is in our drops, we'd have to eat bags and bags and bags of lemons. You mentioned, how many figs would we have to eat to get the benefits of what's in our drops? And that's just one other thing that I love about these is we're getting the purest, potent, most important part in one little lozenge versus, 20 figs that then have other issues that we have to address down the road. So I just wanted to mention that and bring that up.
Yeah, absolutely, Pamela. Also, don't forget we're getting the DNA, of
Mhm.
the genetic instructions of each one of these plants. So our DNA reads this information and will extract whatever information that it needs to repair our own DNA. That's where the drops are king, as far as supplements go.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Hot flashes and menopause. I know this is always a hot topic. No pun intended. What botanicals in these two, Power Apricot, Power Lemon, specifically address that?
Okay, let's talk about preventing the hot flashes through menopause by preventing that DNA damage, So the hot flashes and things that cause it, that really accelerates aging. And it causes what's called cellular senescence, or the degeneration or the aging of cells, like that of the uterus and the endometrium tissues that line the uterus. And so exercise, again, it stimulates that production of just the right balance of estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And if you have the right proportions in your diet. Now, these percentages you can play around with depending on your age, depending on how much you exercise. And so, as you can see, they're not set numbers, So if you have whole foods in your diet, no refined foods, no, excess white sugar, the only white sugar you should have in your diet are in the drops. And they always balance out, your body just immediately disassembles that sucrose molecule into glucose immediately, So you don't have to worry about that. Our phytonutrients will take care of that counterbalancing of utilizing that little tiny minute bit of sugar. When you're eating fruit, you're getting the glucose. When you're eating even complex starches, carbohydrates, your body will ultimately break it all down and ultimately utilize just the glucose. So our bodies are always reducing these molecules so that we can get those micronutrients through the cell membranes and utilize them. So, but when you're eating a healthy diet, whole food carbohydrates, again, no white flour, no white sugars, in excess, and white rice, all of those carbohydrates have to have the fiber in them. The fiber is good exercise for your digestive system anyways. You've got to have those too. But 50 to 60% carbohydrates in your diet is going to give you a lot of energy, but then you need the repair work that's always going on in the body. So 20 to 35% animal-derived proteins and 20 to 30% whole food fats. So, you can go ahead and be a calorie, counter if you want, but just keeping those percentages in mind all the time and being active enough to allow the body to utilize those nutrients to balance your hormones, improve the immune system constantly, just maintain the whole body. These are vitamin and mineral rich plant foods also. A lot of these carbohydrates and fats, they are plant foods. So, but you want to avoid the fried foods, what are called trans fats. Don't heat any oils and only stick to the omega-3 fatty acid oils. There's not very many of them out there. Usually, it's not a good idea to crush a ton of plant material and extract the oils from them. The grains and the seed oils are not that great for you. They contain too many of the omega-6s in there. And so you don't want to imbalance that. That's going to affect your hormones. It's going to affect how soon you go into menopause. And when you rearrange the molecular structures, when you heat the oils, you're creating a plastic, and that's going to clog everything. And so you want good circulatory flow to deliver nutrients. So you want to avoid the skin, lung ingestion, exposure to synthetic chemicals and pollutants because they're very similar to those kinds of fats, molecularly speaking, and your body cannot break them down. They just stick to the arteries, they clog things, and they create, havoc. So we've got a lot of nuts and seeds, beans, legumes, fruits that contain all these phytosterols. Again, I produced a video on YouTube, the differences between the phytosterols, these plant compounds that are precursors to all the hormones we need, versus the synthetic steroids that a lot of the sports industry uses illegally, by the way. They're caught and then they're disqualified from their sport, but they're completely different. So you don't have to worry about the phytosterols. They're everywhere, and just about every plant food that we eat that contain those great phytosterols. So the ashwagandha root and the damiana contain a lot of those phytosterols. They're just the precursors that our bodies need to go ahead and manufacture all the different hormones that we need. So then, I'm not going to read this to you. Maybe I'll enlarge it a little bit so you can glance at it. But there's a lot of changes that go on, when you age, and you don't have to age so fast. Again, it's all of the above. You have to do all the things that are good for your body. You're going to have all kinds of problems that crop up. And blood vessel problems, hormonal problems, and just tissue lining problems. All of these things are going to be happening here. So, again, optimal nourishment and correct hormonal impairments and functional disruptions. So these are the things that cause women to go into menopause, or the result of low libido, vaginal dryness, painful intercourse, adverse symptoms like that affect your mood and perspective in your cognition and mental performance, fatigue, overwhelming life stressors. Perception is all where it's at. If you're perceiving you're blowing up out of proportion, out of fear and worry of your problems in your life, then that's going to affect your health also. Relationship dissatisfaction. Sometimes if a person is suffering from all these overwhelming, things that are happening mentally, because their bodies aren't equipped to calm the nervous system down and balance the hormones that make you think more logically and make better decisions, they're going to have maybe self-esteem problems, and maybe your perception of your partner is going to be, a little bit skewed. So, and it works both ways for both men and women. I'm not picking on women at all, So, and also, unfortunately, there's a lot of people who have gone through the physical and sexual trauma of the violence, kind of thing. So that requires a lot of years of healing. And the better nourished the body is, the better able you'll be able to recover from that kind of trauma. Okay, that's it for that one.
Okay, thank you. Let's talk about how our bodies use the drops. So how does our body know what to use Is there any that is released as waste? Does our body absorb everything? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, this is going to be fun too. Okay, I love your questions, Pamela. Uh, so, okay, the drops don't contain the bulk that produces the residues that food does. You know, like I said, when you digest those whole foods, the body has to break them down and separate out the nutrients from the bulk, you know, and that extraction process. And meanwhile, you know, it's pushing the unwanted bulk through and you're absorbing nutrients, you know. So this is quite a long digestive process. It can last anywhere from 14 to 58 hours to the bowel evacuation event, depending on the diet and your age and your physical condition, you know, to name a few. But yeah, sometimes the motility is very rapid, you know, 6 to 14 hours even, or sometimes if it's very sluggish, then that's not good either because you're absorbing and reabsorbing, you know, the fecal matter that's trying to move through. So that's your body produces, you know, feces for a reason. It's stuff that your body doesn't need. It needs to get rid of it. The longer it stays in the body, then the more it's being reabsorbed into the system. So then we've got the DNA instructions within every one of our cells, you know, and all the nerve signaling that's going on autonomically, you know, to direct the digestive system to perform all these different, the nutrient absorption and elimination process. So, you know, we've got to make sure that that's going to be moving through, not too quickly and not too slowly. So then we've got the contents of the drops. They're already at the right size. You know, they're like not even pre-digested. They're just, we've got the micronutrients already reduced in the plant materials during the production process. We've got all of the cell components, the micronutrients, you know, the phytonutrient compounds, and of course, some trace minerals are going to be, traces of minerals, macro and micro are going to be in there somewhere, but they're, as I'm going to get to shortly, they're not enough to even label it on the containers of the drops. So this is the buccal membranes in the mouth, also called the buccal mucosa. It was hard to find a inside of a mouth that didn't show rotten teeth and all kinds of diseases. You know, finally I found a decent looking one. So then a microscopic view of our cells in the buccal mucosa, as you can see, all the cells contain their DNA, you know, and all of the cell components that are inside, and you've got the cell membranes on the outside. And here's a depiction of one of those cells. You've got the different types of tissues there that are sitting there, and the sublayer and the base layer also that goes into the circulatory system. So this is how we absorb the drops. They're dissolved through the saliva. They're broken down enough so they enter right through and they enter circulation and the body knows exactly what to do with them. You know, they'll arrive at the right sites where it's needed most at any given moment. So we've got the enzyme actions. You know, these are the sparks of life that they're called sparks of life. But now we understand that the enzymes are actually fueled by light energy. They've got what are called biophotons, electrical potentials, you know, the negatively charged particles at the atomic level, those negatively charged ions. That's what keeps our bodies perpetually performing all these actions. To answer your question, so we've got all this bioelectricity going on, you know, the signaling from cell to cell all the time. Directing how to utilize the nutrients, when or where to build new cells, tissues, and structures in the body, and even body fluids. The blood actually is known as a tissue. And then you've got the signaling and monitoring protein actions of the nervous system and the hormonal system. Then you've got all these communications, you know, that dictate our thoughts, our movement, all these signals traveling at lightning speeds all the time. It's really, truly remarkable that our bodies work so well and so fast and so intelligently. I'm just totally in awe. I don't know about you guys, but I am totally in awe. So now the drops, through that accumulate assay technology, we've got all these active nutrient factors that are viable plant DNA, protein, energy production sites in the mitochondria. Our own DNA sees it as of self, that the scientists have labeled that when something is in the body that the body recognizes and can utilize immediately, it's they call it of self. So if the body thinks it's not of self, then it'll work immediately to try to get rid of it, you know. So all the nutrients and the plant cell components that enter and interact with all these life processes inside of our cells, that's always happening inside of our cells. So just as a reminder, I'm sure everyone knows what a DNA looks like, and that these base codes on the rungs of the DNA ladder are just basically four major different types of proteins: the adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. And then we've got the backbone that's made out of the phosphorus, based structure of the DNA. I thought this was a beautiful rendition of the complexity of what rests on the DNA. There's more than what this diagram shows, so much more. And when your body's replicating the cells, you want to replicate so that you keep producing cells that are as youthful as possible, to either reverse the menopause, or male or female menopause, or to balance those hormones and get that information replicated correctly. So as this DNA is unraveling, this is a video, by the way, and here's the link. Probably don't have time to look at it right now, but they're very short videos I put on here. I thought they were just beautiful renditions of what happens when our body replicates each one of our cells. So it actually just disassembles or unravels. There's another picture down here of how these are unraveling. But I thought this was a beautiful picture of the DNA unraveling. So it creates two RNA strands. And then in the process, it actually, when it comes back together as DNA, it's already copied or transcribed all of this genetic information into the new cell. It's just amazing. It's almost scary because it looks like somebody's working a factory or something. These little nutrient factors are just going along, and they know exactly what to do. They work together. It's just really phenomenal. So then we've got cell to nutrient interactions that are occurring because of how our genetic codes are directing everything. They respond to all these nutrient mediated pathways. So they need the nutrients to know what to do, so that they can build the right molecules to run the body. So they're detecting all these different sugars and amino acids and all these different fatty acids, lipids, metabolites, like the phytochemicals. They actually are independent metabolites. A lot of times they act on their own to work with the body, and they actually aid the body that way. The body doesn't always have to do all the work to direct everything. Sometimes these phytochemicals in these plants, the body just allows them to run do their job in the body. It's really phenomenal. So, all the while, the hormonal and the nervous system is talking to all these different cells. Let's see. Yeah. So, it's all about interpreting, understanding, and accepting the information in the botanicals of the drops at that DNA level. And it's able to allow these nutrient factors to enter through the cell membrane, detection sites on our membranes, and into the cells where they do the work. I always like to quote, whenever I talk about biophotons or the light energy frequencies of the body, I always feel like some people might think it's a bunch of woo, right? But there's actually some serious science. And I've been following Dr. Fritz Albert Popp for many, many decades now, and I've watched his work progress through the years. But he's the one that really has discovered the light energy frequencies in living cells, and foods and different things out in nature. So he's been able to photograph them, so you can see that when you cook a food, then the light is severely dimmed in these types of things. So it's definitely there, and it's been detected. But I don't know if I have time to read that, but I think I'll skip that. I'll just let you guys print out or look at the PDF later, or do a screenshot and see.
Screenshot, yeah.
Yeah.
And I know
Okay,
you're always
so
really good about sharing the PDF with us afterwards. So yes, no worries if
yes,
we can't read it all.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's at my website. I'll tell you where it is for those of you who don't know. Okay, so just normal detox, that's so important for maintaining our hormones, and just getting rid of the waste. We're always exposed to all these different particles in the air. We're breathing them in, and if they get in through the skin, they're circulating in the system. And so that's why these botanicals are so good to bind to those chemicals and allow the body to eliminate them through these eliminative organs: the lungs, the skin, the bowels, the kidneys, and the lymph system. The lymph system is very, very important for filtering out all these different waste products as well. When the body breaks things down and cells become old and the body determines that it needs to get rid of them, then they're eliminated through the lymph system. And the lymph system and the blood vessels are always interchangeable. They're always exchanging different types of particles that are going in and out. And so the lymph system is very, very important for the detox as well.
Awesome. Wow.
Okay.
One thing that I want to just note is this new term that I just learned from you, of self. When the body sees something as usable and our body allows it to enter and interact. So I thought that was really interesting, and that's a great kind of simplified way to explain how our body is able to use these botanicals because it sees them of self. So
That's right.
I appreciated that. Thank you. Okay, this next question is a little bit like multiple part. We've been learning that taking more than 3 of one specific drop per day doesn't necessarily provide those additional benefits. So what is the response to those of us that take 6, 7, 8, or all 18 of the drops every single day, especially since some of them have overlapping ingredients, like you mentioned, the similar ones in the Power Apricot and Power Lemon earlier. They both have ashwagandha, damiana leaves, ginger root. So how would you answer that?
Okay, first of all, I didn't put that in here, but I want to say that a high mineral intake through all the plant kingdom, organically grown foods, they're a little more expensive, but you don't need as many food if you're highly nourished, and you'll be more satisfied. So having said that, they're higher in the minerals. Minerals help regulate blood sugar. So if you're taking in 18 drops, especially all at once, maybe not all at once, I'm hoping that you space them out throughout the day, maybe 6 at a time, 3 times a day or something,
Yeah.
but if you can handle all that sugar, then that's good, but be careful. The production of insulin from the pancreas has to be highly nourished. There has to be enough animal-derived proteins. The meats help regulate blood sugar. So do the whole food fats and also the minerals. Vitamins are very important too. So if you're eating a very good, organically grown, balanced, like the percentages I showed you, the different percentages of the different food groups, then you're going to be able to handle the sucrose that's in the drops. That's the only thing. But if you're diabetic, I don't recommend that. You want to space them out a lot differently, just to be sure. Because as I said before, some diabetics, they, think, oh, I can just get more insulin. I'll eat more sugar and I'll just get more insulin. That's not good for the body either. So again, it's still taxing the body, and you want to be encouraging the body to stay younger, longer, stronger, healthier, that kind of thing, everything in balance much longer. So anyway, going into this, excessive dosing and all these different side effects, it's possible for nutritional supplement tablets or capsules if one exceeds the recommended dosages, then it's possible that you'll get some side effects. So these tablets are in milligrams and large doses. That's the body is unable to process too many of those kinds of doses at a time. The isolated vitamins and minerals that are in the tablets and capsules can irritate the system. They can be irritating the kidneys. They can prevent a lot of the nutrient absorption processes in the body. If they're a whole food organic supplement, which one that I've been recommending to people for years, then, and it's all organic, I'm sure a lot of you have seen it on my website, or I've explained it to some people, but it's one of the few out there that is actually a whole food supplement. And they do add a little bit of the additional milligrams of the vitamins and minerals, but because of the phytonutrients that are in the supplement, then it balances all out. It's got enzymes, things like that. So if you're not taking a supplement like that, then you want to make sure your diet is high in the vitamins and minerals, especially the organic foods, the organic soils, and all that. They produce higher nutrients in the plants. So, but if you're taking an average vitamin and mineral tablet, then yeah, this question does apply. You should not eat too much of it. Don't exceed the recommended doses. And even if you don't, if they're not in the right form for the body to recognize and utilize right away, then there's going to be a lot of reactions in the body trying to utilize these nutrients that are in that form. Okay, so yeah, the body's organs can only process, safely all those different vitamins and minerals. So they've got upper limits that the FDA have, and other government entities in other countries have all agreed of the safer upper limits of those types of supplements. So that question would apply to those. Okay, but that's not so with the drops. You know, these are all the micro components that are in the plants, the plant fluids containing all the phytonutrients and all the DNA, like I said before, everything inside the plant cell is in the drops. Okay, so you're not likely to have these kinds of overdoses or over taxing of your system. They just get absorbed right through the mouth. They go into the bloodstream. They go right on the cell receptor sites. They enter the cells and they go to work. They do the work for us, you know? So from what I understand, years ago when the company first came to the United States, um, corporate told me that they had undergone independent lab testing and found that they were quite viable. So they have active enzymes and they're negatively charged because of the bombarding of the, you know, the storm environment in the vats at the factory. So they are active. They've got an electrical potential. Okay, so that's very important in the body. We've got to have electrical potential going on so that you can move the electrical pulses and signaling through the body. So we've got these, you know, DNA segments of our own code that our own DNA uses to repair from these plants. Okay, so then, so these are the number of trillions of cells. Don't worry about using too many because we've got multiple trillions of cells doing multiple trillions of processes every single second of our lives. Okay, so these kinds of immediately utilizable nutrients are going to be utilized. There's in the tablets and the other you know, kinds of in the supplement industry, they will get filtered through the kidneys. You will urinate them out, and very little of that will be utilized. So, you know, a lot of it is a very expensive urine, as they call it, you know. But the drops are going to be utilized by our trillions of cells all the time. They're just something that your body needs, your cells are looking for, and are glad to admit through the cell membranes. Okay, so like a 154-pound male is going to have about 36 trillion cells in the body doing all this work. These are living, you know, cells that are doing all that work. Females have about 28 trillion, and a 32-pound child will have about 17 trillion. Okay, who's surprised by that? That's a lot, right?
That is a lot.
So, you know, in the drops, they have, like I said, the minute amounts of vitamins and minerals that aren't enough to require listing on the product nutrition labels according to the US FDA guidelines, but they contain that genetic material that is so much more valuable, right? We can get our vitamins and minerals from foods if we want more vitamins and minerals, but as far as that information that our DNA uses, it's just invaluable, you know? And they're unique, like I said, because they have the active electrons and the light energy frequencies that are going on. You know, that's actually what they call the fundamental energy force that holds the universe together. So we are part of this. You know, we're not different from it. We're not apart from it. We are flowing with it. So the better nourished you are, the more light energy frequencies your body's going to elevate. You know, and it's going to become part of that flow. I think that's what makes people more cognizant and even more spiritual. It's affected their spirituality. I've seen it over and over again. They become more aware. It's just a beautiful thing to see a human being awaken to their higher potential. It's just wonderful, you know. So here's a quote. Studies prove that one of the most essential sources of light and biophoton emissions was DNA. DNA was like the master tuning fork of the body. And that's what Dr. Fritz Albert Popp really excels in his research on that subject. So then we've got all these different nutrient factors, you know, and the plant organelles and the drops that can correct the DNA and other cellular malfunctions. Okay, so I'm going through this very fast. I see the clock ticking here.
Yes, I know we're getting close on time, but you're doing great.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure we got some questions answered. So, you know, then I go into a little bit about how the body produces billions of proteins. And so, you know, that's just not too much. I just wanted to mention, throw that in there. I get carried away sometimes. It's really hard to summarize it, you know, into an hour's worth of information. And here's that picture I was telling you about how the DNA is unraveling. And it's got one side of the DNA here, one side of the DNA there. And as it transcribes it into the new cell, then it will get those two back together into the new cell. It's really amazing. And that video that I pointed to earlier above, I really hope you all watch that because it's the most amazing thing to watch. Okay, so again, these are our print shots of this video. No, this is a different video. Yeah, here's a video here. That's the link, and these are different snapshots showing the different gene codes that and how that replication process or repair process works in the body. Really interesting. And this one is the most beautiful one I've ever seen. It's got the animation, computerized depiction of how the body works to replicate itself and repair itself.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
then,
Yeah, so much
yeah,
information. Okay. Let's,
I know.
yeah, we'll
I'm
keep
sorry.
going because we're just right about after time. But hemorrhaging, blood clots, irregular monthly cycles. I know a lot of women experience that. Is there anything in Power Apricot or Lemon that would help support that in a woman, or the strength of the uterus?
Yeah. Everybody do a screenshot of this. I'm not going to read it to you. I wanted to make time for questions. But yeah, these are the different botanicals in the drops that are, I just, again, I picked that information out of the book that I've produced so that it would apply to what our subject is. And so, causes of irregular menses, how to maintain a strong and healthy uterus, maintaining a strong pelvic floor. This is what I wanted to point out. This is the pelvic floor here, this area down here. And so all of these organs are held together in place by that strong pelvic floor. And as this deteriorates, then you're going to have a movement and a degeneration of the tissues of these organs. So it's important to do the pelvic floor muscle exercises. There's a lot of information on the internet, especially if you go to this reference at the end by a company called Continence. That organization will show you all the different exercises, and men need it too. Men need to strengthen those pelvic floor muscles as well. And
Perfect.
then,
Yeah, I know
the
that in
other
the
benefit,
beginning of the call, you talked a lot about some of the different benefits of the ingredients, like, healthy blood and all of that, but this is a great chart. So yes, please continue.
yeah, okay, this is the last one, and I just wanted to give you an overview of, I couldn't fit everything into, this is like a font size of 8, and Arial narrow, so this is pretty small. But I just wanted to give you a good span of what other things that these drops do for the body. So yeah, you'll be able to do that. Again, you can print this out from my website.
Yes,
And these are the
fantastic.
different references. There were a lot of references this time.
Thank
Normally,
you.
if I
I know
know
that took a
something,
lot of time.
well,
Yeah.
see, I know this stuff, but I have to back myself up, especially in this for the company, to protect the company, to satisfy anyone out there who is questioning, the validity of what I'm presenting. You can't argue with peer-reviewed science. There's just no other better, source. And also, I wanted to make sure everybody knew that the ebook is now available,
We're so
and it's
excited about
immediately,
that.
yeah, it's immediately downloadable.
So where can people get it? Holisticchoices.com. That's your website. And you have a
Yes.
lot of information there.
Yes, if you want me to copy this into the chat, this is the private link. We have to make sure that it's not going public. So you won't find it at the publisher's website either. It's not in their library. But if you want me to put these in the chat, I can do that right now for
That
you.
would be fantastic. Thank you, Mary Esther.
Okay,
Yeah.
absolutely. No problem.
And I know we have a few minutes left. I haven't really seen any questions in the chat, but if there is one or two, we might have a minute for Mary Esther to answer that. I know this was a lot of information.
Yes, it was a lot of information. Okay. That's the ebook one. The first one in here is for the hard copy. Now it's so slow. I don't know why the banks are slow for processing the payments, and it's slow getting it into my bank account so I can make the order at the publisher site. The publisher takes forever to print, and it's just so maddening to watch this happen. I keep an eye on everybody's orders, but I just wanted to let everyone know I'm so sorry it's taking them so long. It's at least 3 weeks, and everyone right now who has ordered their books just in the last couple of weeks, they're all still in production. So the minute it shows that it's been shipped, that's when I notify you by email to let you know it's on its way, just to let you know. Just
Yeah,
trying
and
to,
great timing for holiday gifts. That's right, Julia. Okay, we do have
yes.
one question in here about power. If a woman is entering menopause, will taking power bring back her monthly cycle?
No, because once you run out of eggs in your ovulation, that's it. You know, it usually happens around your 50s. It's supposed to happen when you're 50s. That's when you run out of eggs for the menses. You know, when you're not pregnant, you're producing the eggs and you're just eliminating them through the menstrual flow. You know, so once you hit menopause, then it's not. I've never seen anybody, you know, be able to generate more eggs to have a menses.
Mhm. Excellent. It's a great, simple answer. And can power apricot help postpartum?
Yes, absolutely. So you want to balance your hormones before you get pregnant. And, you know, by balancing hormones, it doesn't mean that you're going to lose your child. You know, there's only one drop that has the balsam pear in it, where the research warns if someone eats a balsam pear fruit, then it contains the compounds that could cause, that may or may not cause an aborted, you know, child. So just stay away from that drop. I forget which one it is right now at the top of
I
my
think
head.
it's SLD, the slide.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You want to make sure that you have you know, strong going in throughout the pregnancy, well nourished throughout the pregnancy, and then afterwards to make sure that you're well nourished, because that's what it's all about. That's what balances your moods. Your hormonal system that determines your moods uh, needs to be nourished. You know, that DNA needs to be operating on all burners, whatever that saying is, you know, it has to be operating totally. If there's something missing, then there's going to be a cascade effect of how your hormones work and your perceptions and your moods and all of that. I don't recall having that when I had my two children. You know, I was happy, tired, but happy with the
Right.
newborns.
Right. Yes. Thank you. Well, I think we are out of time, and this was just an amazing display of information and knowledge, and we just thank you again. So if everyone would just thank Mary Esther, we know that she puts a lot of time and effort into these monthly calls. The replay will be up on your website along with the PDF. Go check out her book. Get the hard copy, have patience. But Mary Esther, thank you so much for going over all of this tonight and every month. And we just thank you so very, very much.
It's so much fun. I love doing this. I love the human body, you know, and I love watching people get healthy and all of that. So yeah, this is my pleasure and my honor. Really, it is. Thank you everybody for being here. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.